So very good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to the last day of this NEP orientation and sensitization course. Today we have with us Dr. Baiju from Tamil Nadu. So before going to his official lecture, just few reminders that today is the last day of the course, and today Amol kindly display the list those who have uploaded the documents or not. जो लोगों ने डॉक्यूमेंट्स अपलोड किए हैं और जिन्होंने नहीं किए हैं वो लिस्ट आप आज अपलोड कर दीजिए एंड दोज हु हैवंट अपलोडेड द डॉक्यूमेंट्स उनका हम मई के महीने के कोर्स में हम एडमिशन ट्रांसफर कर देंगे. काइंडली टेक अ नोट ऑफ इट एंड अमोल ऑफिशियली यू पुट इट इन द व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप. अमोल यू आर देयर?
यस सर, यस.
जो आप क्या करो, जो जिन्होंने डाला है जिन्होंने नहीं डाला है सभी का आप डिटेल वहां डाल दीजिए और जो लोगों ने अपलोड नहीं किए हैं इमीडिएटली उनका नेक्स्ट कोर्स में हम एडमिशन ट्रांसफर कर देंगे.
यस सर, आई विल डू.
एंड माय रिक्वेस्ट टू बीजू सर, कैन वी कंक्लूड द सेशन एट 4:30 सर? सर काइंडली अनम्यूट. अमोल, बीजू सर को आपने को होस्ट बनाओ.
यस, मैंने बना दिया सर.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You were telling something.
Sir, we can conclude at 4:30. After that, we will have an
okay,
official
okay, sir.
valedictory.
Yeah,
Official
fine,
valedictory.
fine.
Okay. So, friends, we have today with us Dr. Baiju from Department of Education, School of Education Training Center, Central University of Tamil Nadu. He has postgraduated in physics, B.Ed in Moral and Spiritual Education from Ramakrishna Institute of Moral and Spiritual Education, Mussoorie, and M.Ed from Regional Institute of Education, Mussoorie with first rank. Started the career as a higher education teacher in physics, then as a teacher educator. Also worked as a manager, product development and alliance of NIIT training manager of SMART. Trained more than 5,000 school teachers across the country, various topics like assessment, 21st century education, prepared and handled classes in CTET, a corporate trainer in soft skill, expertise in science education, ICT, educational research and statistics, curriculum design, development, contributed to different SWAM, MOOC, published papers in national international journal, was master trainer for Microsoft and Intel, handed session and workshop for NCRT, CIET and SIET Kerala. Handled sessions at HRDC, former HRDC, MMTTC of Kerala, designed and conducted training at APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, University of Calicut, Kannur University, Sri Shankara University. So indeed, it is really an honor and pleasure to have him here as a resource person. So again, I welcome Dr. Baiju to this UGC Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center. And now I would hand over the session to him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. At the outset, let me thank HRDC, Bhimrao Ambedkar Marathwada University, and all the participants. Very good afternoon. In fact, I could understand that it's the last day, so you might have got different topics in order to sensitize about NEP 2020. Now, we know that we are almost completed 4 years with the official document, a policy of the new millennium. And we know that as higher education faculty members, we are into implementing NEP in its different forms. And especially in higher education, we are experiencing various changes, reforms. In fact, those who are frequent visitors to UGC website or UGC Twitter handle, you know that UGC is trying to bring the reforms into higher education, and we will have the discussion on the topic assigned to me is higher education and society. So before moving into the presentation, let me share a small link. You can just check it in the chat box. There is a small Mentimeter link shared to you, where I have just posed a question. It's not a question, it's a request. Could you please share 2 major concerns about Indian higher education in your perspective? Because you're all, we are all in the same boat, sailing towards the same target. So how exactly you perceive Indian higher education system? We know that there are a lot of changes coming in, and we are also expecting more changes in the coming years. So how exactly you look at Indian higher education system, and maybe you can share two major concerns that you have. So I have shared the link for the Mentimeter. I think you'll be able to access it without leaving from the Zoom meeting. I hope you have got it. So you can just click on the link so that you'll get the Menti page where you can type. And I would request you can type starting with your name. Start typing your name, put a hyphen and give your response so that we will come to know who talks what. It's not to assess anyone, just to know that how exactly you perceive and what concerns you have about Indian higher education system. The question is, please share any two major concerns regarding Indian higher education system in your perspective. Once you click on the link which I have shared, you will be able to see that, and you can type there itself. Two major concerns that you have about Indian higher education system. Because we are the practitioners, through us, the different reforms are getting implemented in Indian higher education system. So we know that we have, there are lots of concerns, there are lots of challenges, and day by day we are becoming more stronger in terms of quality, in terms of access. So how exactly you look at Indian higher education system, and maybe you can share any two concerns in the Menti itself. Yeah, I have some responses. There are 5 responses. I'll share it for the benefit of others. The workload of professor and major and minor subject is one of the challenge or concern that Manoj Geram shares. Rajiv Kau says skill-based education, adopt ancient knowledge system are the concerns. Shambhu K says it's accessibility and quality, inadequate number of faculty, lack of infrastructure. Prakash Ubadhyay says students also need to learn practical application in study period only. Importance should be given to peer group learning. Thank you. Snehalata says lack of OB or skill-oriented syllabus. Okay. Manisha Gagagre says not much clear about MEME and how to adjust the timetable. Good. Inadequate number of faculty, lack of infrastructure. Said Abdar Ahmad says lack of infrastructure, adequate number of faculty, unnecessary interference of government, okay, lack of multidisciplinary learning and lack of practical training. So we have almost 11 responses. DYPU skill gap on employability. Implementation of NEP 2020, especially timetable presentation and choice of selections in subject, etc. Okay. Skill-based education, lack of vision of management. Quality education should be essential and employable. Fine, I'll just I'll give you 1 minute more time. So the time countdown starts. We have 16 responses as of now out of 89. As compared rural and urban, higher education institute very big gaps. So reforms need in all level, closed non-grant policy. Okay. You have another 30 seconds. There are 18 responses, issue of timetable and workload. Industry institute strong connect is required. Yeah. So last maybe 15 seconds. I hope you are able to see the responses, what participants are sharing. Okay, thank you. The time is up. So there are 18 responses. In fact, I hope the others would be comfortable in seeing these responses, and even you may have your own concerns. Fine. Thanks a lot for all these 18 members who were willing to share your responses. So let us look into, because we know we are all having different concerns, and I hope this is visible to you. I have shared the screen with a small PowerPoint. So if it's not visible, you can just put it in the chat box. And another request is that if you feel at any point of time to interact, please feel free. Let us have more interactive session, rather you keep on listening to me. So let us look into having all these concerns. All of us are trying our level best in improving the quality of higher education. Yes, I do agree we have concerns. Now let us look into what exactly NEP talks about higher education. And even you know that there are different documents, different guidelines, different draft papers, frameworks developed by UGC and shared. So we will have the discussion on NEP as well as one of the document recently published by UGC, which talks about the community engagement and social responsible action. Because we are all concerned about the society, how the society is getting developed, and we are all equipping our learners to cope up with the drastic changes in the society. So hence we know that we feel that there is a need for reframing or reforming the curriculum, because we may not be able to equip our learners if we have the same good old curriculum, which may be more content oriented or a more theoretical knowledge oriented. That is where even now UGC talks about skill oriented, work based, industry based. Even we know recently, I hope all of you might have involved in discussions about the internship, giving the structure, how exactly we can have the better connect with industry, and how can we make use of the facilities of industry to our students, so that they'll be well equipped in terms of not only the content knowledge, but also with the skills and their competencies. Now, if you look at NEP, you know that NEP has got different sections extending to 63 or 66 pages. And I hope all of us might have gone through the document multiple times. And about higher education, the policy document starts quality universities and colleges, a new and forward-looking vision for Indian higher education system. So as a public document, as a political document, we have every freedom to interpret each and everything. But as the important stakeholder of academia, we will confine our discussion to education and the allied factors. Now we know NEP has got the different thrust areas like multidisciplinary and holistic education is one of the thrust areas suggested by NEP 2020. Digital empowerment and online education, skill development and employability, because we know even the beginning of 21st century, UNESCO has brought out the document talking about the 21st century skills, and even UNESCO was re-emphasizing the importance of transforming the education to skill-oriented. We know why the reason by which UNESCO has even documented, and even afterwards UNESCO and OECD kind of agencies are bringing out different frameworks, suggestions, guidelines. How can we focus more on skill-based teaching learning? And also we know now it feels so easy to upskill the different group of people or the different populace because of the advancement in technology. Wherever we talk about skill-based education or employability skills, because we know UGC or even the accreditation agencies are emphasizing the importance of value-added courses, add-on courses, apart from what is there in your CBCS curriculum. And other thrust area is research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Now, even we know the Tier 1 and Tier 2 group of institutions, irrespective of the type of institutions, all of us may have the incubation centers in the institute. We may have innovation centers, or we may have the startup facility. So all these are looking towards the R&D, research and development, and also emphasizing or supporting for the innovation and entrepreneurship. Another important area what NEP suggests is about capacity building of teachers for quality education. We know the Ministry of Education and the other agencies, associated agencies, constituent agencies have already initiated different programs of capacity building, content enrichment, professional development. Now, that's why we are now connected. All the human resource development centers have transferred to MMNTC. Now we are more into popularizing the importance of capacity building, content enrichment, and making the faculty members more productive, more accountable, more dedicated towards what we are doing. Another important area is the governance and autonomy. NEP document clearly articulates the different reforms, maybe in terms of structures like higher education, general education council, higher education council. There are different structures NEP talks about. We will look into that. Another is the quality, ranking, and accreditation. We know that it's been already started in the implementation. We are familiar about what changes NAC has brought out. So the NAC is moving towards the new format of accreditation. And equitable and inclusive education is another thrust area what NEP talks about. All of us need to be equipped, making our classroom more inclusive. And once you go for the inclusiveness of your classroom, inclusiveness of your institutions, we know that we'll be able to support the equity of education, and that way we'll be able to contribute towards actualizing SDG 4. Because we know NEP 2020 starts by quoting the SDG 4, quality education for all. Another most important area is promotion of Indian languages and Indian knowledge system. Now, even UGC and other higher education agencies have already initiated different programs, research project opportunities, supporting people getting engaged into promotion of Indian languages as well as Indian knowledge system. So these are all the major thrust areas which the policy document suggests. And I hope almost all of us are familiar with these thrust areas. But again, since we have an opportunity here dedicated to discuss about the quality universities and colleges or higher education, I think it would be better to reiterate about what exactly NEP talks about higher education. Now, taken from NEP 2020 document, it talks about a quality higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to the society. So when we want to talk about how exactly the policy document envisions the connection between society and the education system, we know education system is a societal institute and it's a social enterprise. Though we have different philosophies which talks about different strata of different paradigms of education, we know that we are into the society, we are producing, we are molding the future society. And in fact, NEP emphasizes about the shape or the structure of the future society as the knowledge economy or the knowledge superpower. India becoming by 2030 or to the maximum by 2045, India becoming the knowledge superpower, or even in terms of education, we know what NEP articulate, India or Indian teachers becoming the Vishwa Gurus. So we have to upgrade ourselves to a global teacher, a global faculty member. So that's what even NEP mentions about the personal accomplishment. That is one of the reasons we know that we are moving towards the outcome-based education. Outcome-based education, though there may be agreement and disagreement or even points to be debated, outcome-based education emphasizes on directing the designers of education, specifically the teachers, focusing into the tangible outcomes. By the end of the course, how exactly a student can develop a profile, maybe a skill profile, maybe a competence profile, so that he or she will be equipped well to meet the needs of the contemporary society. I won't say it's the market. There are discussions or debates which directs towards OBE, emphasizes more on marketization or a commodification of education. Somewhere we may feel, because there is a paradigm shift from objective-based education to outcome-based education. But still, as the practitioners, I feel that we will take the positive side of outcome-based education, where we focus on designing the entire teaching learning with an emphasis to the outcomes which are measurable. And these outcomes, we know it starts from the program outcome, course outcome, and course-specific learning outcomes. And I feel most of us are feeling comfortable in designing our maybe the online course or even the offline courses mapped to the outcome. And now most of us are into practicing the outcome-based education. And I feel now our concern would be, we need to assure the attainment of outcomes. It's not that we have designed the outcomes maybe in the curriculum, we have transferred those outcomes into course-specific learning outcomes into the course handout. And even we may be articulated in our syllabus, but that's not enough. We may have to involve in making sure what is the level of attainment of these outcomes. So that is where most of the time I feel there is a gap. Most of the higher education faculty members are comfortable in designing the outcome-based curriculum or designing the outcome-based syllabus and transacting to the best way. But when it comes to the level of attainment, the question is, how do we do that? For example, we may be happy following Bloom's taxonomy to convert the course outcome to program outcome and derive the course-specific learning outcomes. We may be comfortable. Now, we may be comfortable even in designing the learning experiences that helps us to implement in the classroom or maybe in an online platform. But are you comfortable in measuring those outcomes and assuring the attainment of those outcomes? This has to be, I think this has to be focused. And what it says, it's not only personal accomplishment, it has to lead to the enlightenment. Now, we know the general aim of education is to uplift any individual from the dark to the light, or we can say the self-actualization or the personal enlightenment. Now, an enlightenment is not possible only through a very formal system of schooling or very formal system of education. We know that there are other factors like maybe you'll agree that life skills or soft skills, hard skills, values. There are different other factors which actually support the enlightenment of the individual. And that is where NEP repeatedly mentions about we need a society, we need an education system which is built upon, which is emphasizing upon the Indian ethos. Even it talks about Nalanda, Takshila kind of ancient universities, and it emphasizes on Indian knowledge system. Because we know that there is a need to look back to the Indian knowledge system. Somewhere we felt that our education system was not that much emphasizing or valuing Indian knowledge system. Rather, we were looking more towards the West, where the West were looking more towards the East. So this was the gap. So we need to be based on the roots and develop into a big banyan tree, which can give the shelter to the global concerns. So that's what the enlightenment, that is where even the other components in the higher education section of NEP talks about. And another most important point is the constructive public engagement. It's not only confining, most of the time, fortunately or unfortunately, none of you have mentioned about the concern in higher education related to research. I think research need to be focused more in terms of its productivity and its utility. There are large number of research outputs available. If you look at Shodh Ganga, you can see, you can take the account of theses published in the public domain. Now, in number of researchers, we have enough. But what about their transferability or translation to the society? That is, I think, there we have a gap. We are really struggling to transform the research output into the society or bringing those research output and making used by the society. In fact, I still remember there was an article during the lockdown, in the beginning days of lockdown, when we were struggling to have the vaccine for COVID. There was an article questioning about the contribution of ICMR or CSIR after maybe 40 or 45 years of existence, what exactly we have done in terms of products. We know that there are patents coming in every now and then. We have different patents, but how exactly it is getting reflected in the society, in the day-to-day lives of the individual. That is more important. So we need to focus on the public engagement in terms of community partnership, in terms of opening the resources for the general public, sharing the resources for the general public. Like, for example, if there is a university, in fact, NEP talks about the knowledge hub, the cluster of institutions, and one maybe institution can take the nodal position of the hub, where the resources can be shared. One. Second, allowing more public participation, policy discussions, decision making. So all these can be taken through the higher education institutions, and thus making every individual a productive member of the society. So this is the general vision of NEP about higher education. And it must prepare students for more meaningful and satisfying lives and work roles and enable economic independence. So I am interested at the last point about the economic independence, where we emphasize on the work-based, skill-based educations, and even it may be supporting the Make in India concept, or even the Atmanirbhar Bharat. There may be debatable points, but I am looking to the positive side of all these kind of things, because that's what we can do. We can always, there is a scope for critical reflections, critical responses. There is always a scope for criticisms, but still, as a stakeholder who are directly influencing the students, let us look into the positive side of it, or let us make them into the positive side. So this is what NEP starts with. And I like this statement from the document, which talks at the societal level. The policy focuses on higher education at individual level as well as the societal level. So the societal level, the policy clearly articulate education must enable the development of an enlightened, socially conscious, knowledgeable, and skilled nation. So whatever we do in our classrooms, whatever we do outside our classrooms, should be oriented towards this. Will I be able to enlighten the individual in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the attitude, in terms of the skills, in terms of the values, in terms of the virtues, in terms of even our culture, so that they become socially conscious. Now, this social consciousness is indeed a most important point. Why? Because we know we are seeing a group of people who are more driven by the social media. They are more into making sure I have a presence in the social media, for which I do anything and everything. Our student populace become more of talking about the likes, shares. Now, are they really socially conscious? Or do we need only the people who are becoming the social media activists? Because that is another terminology we have now. Because everybody, those who are into the social media platform, they react, they respond to the problems, the societal issues and all. But is that enough? What about the action level, to the field? One side, yes, at least they are getting sensitized towards these kind of issues, problems, concerns. But what is happening in the field? Are they really involving? Are they, the students are getting sensitized towards issues like climate change, issues like gender, issues like there are environment, there are different. So it's not only socially conscious, I would say it is more of socially productive, socially engaging. It's not only the awareness or practices, how best our next generation, our students are getting engaged with the society. That is where maybe in teacher education, NEP talks about, even in higher education, NEP talks about socially responsible pedagogies, socially responsible participation, socially responsible engagement, and making knowledgeable and skilled nation that can implement robust solution to its own problems. So self-reliance is the focus. rather waiting for the support from the outside system, can we develop a system which is robust in terms of finding solutions? It need not be a single solution which is market driven. It can be the alternative solutions, right? Because when you talk about problem solving, we know that, for example, now we are all happy to say that our education system is getting blessed with the technological advancements like AI. But now even some of you started understanding that AI is not that much blessing education. Rather, we are finding there are certain challenges. Now, one of the challenges is we are not self-reliant in terms of artificial intelligence system development. Now, we are all getting equipped to make use of the AI system. I would say we are all started consuming what products we are having. Now, slowly, that's what even NEP emphasizes on AI. There need to be rigorous researches and developments in AI. So if you want to go for designing and developing the AI-based system, we need to have customized researches. See, that's what even UNESCO document about AI in education talks. It may be very luxurious for a developing country to embrace AI in its all essence into education. That document clearly emphasizes what the developing countries need to do. The developing countries need to take up more researches and think about how can it be customized, how can it be contextualized to the societal needs, to the diverse needs of the society. So, but let us hope that when we are realizing the vision of the entire nation and the different guidelines and frameworks, let us try to implement and let us contribute the best so that we will be able to reach to the wider vision of the policy. Now, moving to the next part, NEP emphasizes the current problems. It's clearly emphasized what are all the current problems based on which the policy try to make the suggestions. And I hope you have gone through this severely fragmented higher education ecosystem. That is where even UGC later started giving the guidelines for 4-year undergraduate program, FIUG, or 1-year PG programs. And even there is a draft document on blended learning. So now even the OBE framework or even the national curriculum, national credit framework. So all these documents talks about how exactly we can streamline, rather fragmenting the higher education ecosystem. How can we streamlining? And UGC clearly says that there is no attempt to unify the entire syllabus of the country. That is a line which we can underline. There is no, because everywhere we are hearing about one nation and one system, one nation, one election, one nation, one pension. All these kind of thoughts are there or implementations are there. Meanwhile, we know that in education, it may not be easy to have one nation and one education, but we can have one educational guideline, even which is being taken care by UGC. So this fragmented higher education system, that is where the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, and even NAD, or even the DigiLocker system, all these are coming into picture where making the life cycle, the academic life cycle of a student, making it easy. Earlier, we may remember when we used to complete maybe PG, and if you want to apply somewhere, how many documents I have to get attested from maybe a gazetted officer. So maybe hundreds of papers we have to take and get it approved, get it attested and submit. Now, when you go for the digitization, when you go for a centralized digitization, it becomes easy. So there are efforts to streamline the fragmented higher education ecosystem, less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes. And this also been addressed through the outcome-based education framework. And even how or why OBE framework is more important. It's not only for the OBE pattern or OBE structure. I like the section which talks about the what we call the graduate attributes, right? So as faculties, it is reminding us how exactly we need to frame our teaching learning. So the graduate attributes, there are different graduate attributes listed out in the OBE framework, which actually support us and even justifies some of our innovative approaches of teaching learning. For example, in the graduate attributes, there is one graduate attribute which I look very seriously about, the multicultural competence. How do we support our learners to acquire the multicultural competence? Now, in a classroom, we know that it is there is a less opportunity for us to support the students to develop the multicultural competence. Whereas when you try to have the ODL, open distance learning, or even MOOCs, we have better opportunity where the students can expand their learning trajectory, expand their learning ecosystem to the global scenarios. They have the network across the globe, so that they can have the multicultural competence. And another problem which NEP discussed is the rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization and streaming of students into narrow areas of study. Now, we know how exactly higher education system is getting addressed of this point. We are moving towards of multidisciplinary institutions. Now, there are concerns how exactly we are going to convert it into a multidisciplinary institution is a question. Another is the question on the existence of specialized branches. Like there is a concern, some of the faculty share that if there is a 1 year PG, after the 4 years, we know that there are different types of 4-year undergraduate program where even after 4 years, if the students are completing a certain credits, they can directly pursue their doctoral degree. Now, who will be the takers of this master's program? We know in university systems, we have only the master's departments, PG departments. So how exactly it is going to disrupt the existence of the department is another concern. But we know that when you go for the multidisciplinary nature of education, our students will be in a better position as the course takers, as the career aspirants. Another is limited access, particularly in socio-economically disadvantaged areas with few HEIs that teach in local languages. Even there are efforts now emphasizing on the different Indian languages. Now, one of the evidence that I can quote here is even in SWAYAM, we know that SWAYAM is offering different types of courses, self-paced courses, credit-based courses, certificate-based courses, which is open to different levels or different strata of the society. Now, in SWAYAM now, if you look at, SWAYAM is in the process of translating the courses into Indian regional languages. Now, I think at least 8 languages they have started with. So this also is being addressed. Limited teacher and institutional autonomy. This would be addressed like what policy talks about, the deemed to be universities, institute of national importance. So all these are already getting implemented. Another is inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management and progression of faculty and institutional leaders. This also may be felt as a very crucial as far as ourselves concerned, because we know there are clarity needed in terms of the CAS, Career Advancement Scheme, and the Academic Performance Index. And I hope we are waiting for the new structure of CAS and API, and lesser emphasis on research at most universities and colleges, and lack of competitive peer-reviewed research funding across discipline. Now, when it go for the multidisciplinary researchers, I think we will be able to at least support the different strata of disciplines. Otherwise, now we know that there is always a complaint felt among the social science faculty members that more emphasis is on science and technology based researchers. Another is suboptimal governance and leadership of HEIs, an effective regulatory system, and large affiliating universities resulting in low standards of undergraduate education, which again will be addressed through the new structure. So this is what NEP talks about the current concerns. Now moving deeper into the areas, it talks about envision a complete overhaul and re-energizing of the higher education system, moving towards more multidisciplinary, consisting of multidisciplinary, where you know that even NEP talks about two types of universities: research intensive universities and teaching intensive universities. We may have to wait how exactly it is getting framed. But one of the point what NEP mentions about re-energizing of the higher education system. Another is increased access, equity, and inclusion through a range of measures, including greater opportunities for outstanding public education, scholarships by private philanthropic universities for disadvantaged and underprivileged students, and even through the ODL. Now, what we have to do as an institute would be a discussion point here. Now, governmental side, there will be different programs coming in. Even now we know that ICSSR announces different projects at different levels, or these funding agencies are coming up with different programs, different projects. But the question is, what is the level of teachers, higher education faculties who are making use of it? That is one. Second is, what is the result of these kind of projects? What is the output? And how exactly these outputs are getting utilized by the society. So that should be, even I feel that most of us agree that our higher education system is energized. There is a new energy in the higher education system, but still that energy is getting confined within the four walls of the institutions. So extending to the community, reaching to the community, making them to use of the research output, bringing different products that the community can use. All these are indeed needed. So it's not simply energizing in terms of what we say, in terms of the new curriculum, in terms of new syllabus, in terms of new course structure. In terms of the productivity, I think we may have to look into. And that's what, in terms of re-energization, the policy document talks about institutional restructuring and consolidation. Now we know HEI clusters and knowledge hubs. This again, UGC has already started, brought out regulations, how exactly we can formulate maybe the structure to share the resources. Maybe if there is a central university, or if you have a research institute, how exactly the resources can be shared with the with the other institutions, the research scholars. And even now we know that there is a seriousness towards the internship. Earlier, some very selected disciplines were serious about the internships, but now we are taking more seriousness, so that there is a scope for the student to get practiced in the industry or practiced in the field, so that he or she will get a chance to try out the content or the theoretical knowledge what they are acquiring, and refine their cognitive abilities, and support their cognitive abilities with the kinesthetic abilities or motor activities. Another restructuring what NEP talks about, the research intensive universities and teaching intensive universities. We have to wait and see how exactly it is getting implemented. It may not be a bad idea, but I think all of you may agree that even all of us are ready to do the researches. So sometimes there may be an apprehension whether this will go for a divide between the institutions, because we know as higher education faculty members, all of us need to have a research orientation. It need not be a major research project always, but all of us are one or the other way involved in a day-to-day research, I would say, day-to-day research and improve the system. So there may be apprehensions on research intensive and teaching intensive categorization. And another is the multidisciplinary institutions, which may be well accepted, wherein the institution of national importance or the prestigious institutions who are already well settled with the infrastructure, well settled with the kind of resources, well established their brand. We know that there are institutions who are multidisciplinary. Now, looking into those institutions, the other institutions are following the similar, wherein we will have more liberal arts, more scientific societal sciences, or I won't say social sciences, but more integration and correlation of social sciences and the science and technology, where you may say STEM, STEAM, STREAM, all these terminologies are familiar with us. So how exactly we are going to participate in that, for which I feel at each faculty level, we need to be equipped. Wherein I'm mentioning about how exactly we participate in CBCS. Though how exactly our CBCS is getting implemented is a question. Though we say that it is choice-based credit and semester system. And even for credit system, we have the national credit framework. But if you look at the institutions who are implementing this, do they have a really allowance of this choice of the students? Even in the UGC framework, we know that there are different types of courses, core courses, elective courses, discipline-specific elective, open elective, value-added courses. So somewhere I feel that we are restricting our students in terms of the choices. Now, the other question is, how many of our faculties are in a position to offer different courses? A same faculty offering different courses based on the expertise or based on the competencies. Are we into offering a number of courses, or are we getting restricted? So this is what a concern I would see when our institutions become multidisciplinary institutions, because we know most of us are experts in not only in a single area, we have expertise in multiple areas. So embracing the concept of multiple intelligence, allowing the multidisciplinary courses and offering multidisciplinary courses would be a challenge. And I think we are all getting equipped in designing and offering multidisciplinary courses. Another most important restructuring which NEP talks about is the open distance learning and the online programs. Now, I hope almost all of us are comfortable in designing online courses, wherein even the draft version of blended learning, which talks about having an LMS, for each institute. So this LMS actually support the learners of that particular institute. Not only the learners, even the LMS kind of system would always support us to have a repository. Even NEP talks about a national repository, and even we can have the localized repositories which helps the learners to access openly licensed material. That is another concern which our faculty may share when you talk about open distance learning. Like you may be, some of you might have already experienced, suppose when you are applying for the Swayam courses, some of you might have already tried, or even you might have involved in developing, designing and developing some course materials for the institutions. What the first point, what they say is, we need to have zero plagiarized materials. So plagiarism or copying or proprietary nature of the knowledge is a concern. So that is where this open distance learning will direct us. When we are becoming more, when we are embracing more of open distance learning, we may have to start talking about open pedagogies also. We may have to start talking about open resources, or we may have to start talking about OERs. So it's not having a national-wide system for OER. I would prefer to have regionalized, localized repositories which can be networked, by maybe a national coordinator or national nodal agency, whatever it may be. So, but at the faculty level, let us equip ourselves in designing the online courses, designing, preparing the openly licensed materials, localized, contextualized materials, reworking on the proprietary knowledge, and how can we convert it into a more equitable and accessible resource. Now, the next concern, or the next point, what NEP talks about, towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education. So when you talk about more holistic and multidisciplinary, what policy document talks about is branches of creative human endeavor, including mathematics, science, vocational subjects, professional subjects, and soft skills should be considered arts as distinctly Indian in origin. This is something interesting. Now, when you look at science subjects, when you look at mathematics, is it strictly Indian in origin? Most of the time, we know that it's not strictly Indian in origin. Now, how can we convert that into Indian origin? It may not be possible. So we may have to have a global version of all these subjects. Maybe having a background of Indian origin would be better. Rather, always looking for Indian origin based subjects, we may be able to integrate Indian ethos, Indian value culture towards what we are having as a well accepted discipline. That would be better. And that's what even it talks about, must brought back to the Indian education as it exactly the kind of education that we will be required for the 21st century. There are debatable points. There are argumentations on all these concerns, but let us take the input as, when we are designing the courses, when we are designing the learning experiences in these subjects, let us try to integrate the components of Indian ethos and Indian values. Rather, bringing the entire system towards, or maybe I would say making or going for an Indianization may not be needed, but you can always have an integrated approach towards the Indian origin based knowledge or Indian knowledge system. Now, we can be proud of Indian knowledge system, but will that alone be enough for our higher education learners would be a question. Do they need, because people start talking about normalization, standardization, how do you standardize the Indian knowledge system? Is it a standardized one? Is it modern in nature? All these kind of questions are there. We are not moving to that side, but still, as a higher education faculty, what I feel is that we can always go for the modernized knowledge system, wherein you can always show them how exactly India contributed. What is the state of India as a knowledge system? How exactly contributed? How exactly helped to shape the other modern knowledge system? In that way, I think that we will be able to get the or actualize this, and for which NEP talks about 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program, where MEME multiple entry, multiple exit option would be possible. But in between, we have heard that Ministry has gone for a parliamentary committee to explore the feasibility of MEME in all walks of education. Because somewhere we feel that in some of the education system or some of the discipline, MEME, or maybe in the professional courses, multiple entry, multiple exit may not be possible. But we have a structure now for the 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program, and different designs of master's program is another suggestion from NEP. And the most important and most awaiting suggestion is about MERU, multidisciplinary education and research universities. Maybe within a few years, we'll have certain institutions and under this category. The another section, which is more important for us, is about optimal learning environment as a support for students. So what it talks about, to promote creativity, institutions and faculty will have the autonomy to innovate on matters of curriculum, pedagogy and assessment within a broader framework. So it reminds us our role in curriculum design. Now, when we discuss about curriculum design, most of the time the faculty say that we don't have any role. It is being decided by maybe a board of studies or a particular designated body who are all as entrusted to design. I won't agree with that kind of perception. I would say we have the role. Even maybe in the NAC criteria, you know that how far we give room for the student feedback in your curriculum revision. There is a question. And blindly, we may say that 10% we say we collect the feedback. But what about the practitioners? How do we contribute towards maybe the curriculum reform? That is most important. When I practice or offer a particular course in this particular semester, I may be in a better position to talk about how exactly it went on in this particular semester, which areas were struggling. Even most of you were talking about the workload and the curriculum load, because we know a core course may have to run for 75 hours or 90 hours. Mostly, I think it is 75 hours, but we know that most of us may not get 75 working hours. The national working hours, most of the time, because of the different reason, we may not get. So how exactly we need to relook into the time framing of the specific courses. And the second one, how exactly we implement them. What kind of pedagogy we use? Are we still going with the school-based pedagogy? Or are we ready to take up the andragogical principles or experiential learning principles? Because one of the most important point what NEP talks is about learning how to learn. The learning autonomy and making the learners how to learn. So if we want to transform our learners to the learners who are learning how to learn, I think we need to have a radical change in the methodology that we use. So methodologically, how do we contribute? How exactly it supported me? The existing curriculum, how exactly it supported me to implement. Maybe I would share an experience, what most of you may agree. During the lockdown, we were compelled to convert our face-to-face teaching learning into online. Everything was online. Now, how exactly we have experienced? We have experienced that some of the content area are not appropriate to convert it into an online medium. Why? When the curriculum designed, the designers might never thought the scope of the new media. But now we realize that what is the scope of the new media? What is the nature of the new media? So once we know the nature of the media, now I can go back and redesign our curriculum. And the most important point again to us is the assessment. What kind of assessment we are following? We are hearing about the open textbook based assessment, more flexible assessment, and more formative assessment. Right now, in terms of formative assessment, we know what exactly we are practicing. We are having periodic assessment rather having continuous assessment. This may be maybe a rough or a very rash statement, but that is the reality. Most of the time, though we say that we are going for a continuous assessment, we are going for a periodic assessment. Now, even in the periodic assessment, what changes we are bringing? And because of the periodic assessment, what our students are benefiting? This is most crucial to think about. We may be having a structure for sometimes you may have 40 marks for your internal, what we call it as a continuous assessment, 60 marks for the term and assessment. Now, in these 40 marks, how exactly we design? Most of the time we design maybe 2 tests, 1 assignment, 1 seminar, 1 presentation, and interestingly, even the attendance of the students. So are they benefiting them? Or do we need to bring some modification in the continuous assessment designs? And even some of the universities have taken the call to reverse it, having a 60% weightage for the continuous assessment and only 40% for the term and assessment, so that the students are getting motivated to be participative in the entire semester activities, and whatever activities they are getting involved, all the activities are getting used for the assessment, wherein the crux of the continuous assessment is the diagnostic and remedial assessment. When a student is taken through a continuous assessment, or in more specifically in a more formative assessment, I would say the best part of it is students are getting chances of checking themselves and go for remediation, hence go for the improvement. So this is one area which we may have to contribute directly. And the other area, each institutions will integrate its academic plan, ranging from curricular improvement to quality of classroom transaction into its larger institutional development plan. Now, how many of us are familiar with IDP? Do we have IDP? Do we have access to IDP? Do we have a role in designing and discussing IDP? So you can think of in each of your institutions having a scope for institutional development plan, or even at least right now you may have departmental research committee. Like that, there can be a departmental academic committee. Again, it need not be a committee for the sake of committee. That is what our experiences. There are regulatory systems, but whether the regulatory systems are functioning in its effective essence is a question. So hence, we can develop a kind of learning ecosystem or a reviewing ecosystem in the department, so that the department will be in a better position to support their learners. That is what IDP means for me. Now, moving ahead, it again talks about high quality student support, professional, academic, and career counseling, physical, physiological, and emotional well-being. Now, it gives us the idea to what extent we have to think about the planning. It's not only teaching, but now I know that since there is something in NAP, there is a question. What is the remedial coaching pattern, or what about your I need to practice the professionalism in my workplace and also support, engage with the students professionally. So professionally, maybe in quote and unquote, but still, it can be a self-check. Am I really a professional in my institution? How exactly I engage with the students professionally, so that even the faculty member can act as a counselor, can act as a mentor. Even we have documents. We have documents for mentor-mentee system in almost all the institutions, but it's a high time to have an operational mentor-mentee system, wherein in some institutions I know they have already found out some time frame or time slots, because you were talking about the timetabling. Timetabling is more crucial nowadays, but considering or maybe in a more holistic view, having the possibilities that you can bring it into the timetable, you have to design the timetable wherein within the time slots, there are opportunities for the counseling, the mentoring, and even the opportunity for the physiological, physical, and emotional well-being of the students. Even the health and wellness, even some institutions started talking about happiness index. Some institutions have already started talking about the emotional well-being, social well-being, spiritual well-being, even the mental health. Now, how do we incorporate all these components into the timetable is a question, wherein we still continue the traditional way of looking in the timetable, where you have very staggered, very strictly staggered periods. And even in some institutions, I know that some students say that they have more free periods. And students are always not liking to have maybe 9 to 5, all the periods. If you make them to sit in the class, they may feel that we are all being treated like school students. So we have to come up with an alternative system where the students are getting involved. Students are getting participated in the different scholastic, post-scholastic, and co-curricular, extracurricular activities within the institution, wherein I feel that they need to be sensitized or they need to be convinced. Once they get convinced, I think their participation will not be a problem. Now, what is the challenge before us is our students are not getting convinced. Even the timetable, when you present before them, maybe a timetable for the entire semester, 5 days in a week or 6 days in a week, maybe 6 periods per day, they are not getting convinced. Rather, maybe in a collaborative way, can you think of developing a timetable? Deciding the institutional hours, the national hours of the institution. Can we have a role for the students? This is what we need to try out. And the fourth point, what NEP talks about, ODL will be renewed through concerted evidence-based efforts towards expansion while ensuring adherence to clearly articulated standards of quality. Now we know ODL, open distance learning, or even MOOCs. We have enough number of MOOCs right now, maybe in terms of SWAYAM or NPTEL, we have lots of courses available. Now, one of the concern that you may share that we have a concern about the quality of the courses or structure of the courses, implementation of the courses. In the beginning years, we have experience, but now I could understand the SWAYAM as well as NPTEL, they are very serious into, even UGC is very serious into the concerns that we have shared in terms of implementation of the course, in terms of credit transfer. Now we know that 40% of the credits can be transferred from these online courses or the MOOC courses. Now people share one concern that do we need to restrict our students only to SWAYAM MOOCs? It need not be. Now, I think UGC may also come up with an idea that even some of the standard foreign online courses, because we know there are Coursera, edX, Udemy, Alice, and there are, or even some of the prestigious universities like MIT or Stanford, Harvard. All these people are having different MOOCs in their kitty, and if the students are going through that and successfully completing, can we go for the credit transfer? This is one. Second, what should be the modus of operandi for the credit transfer? And the another question is, what about allowing students to opt any kind of courses, right? For example, if a final semester student opt for a Swayam course, and if the student is not passing that particular course, what happens to his result? When I talk about the result, even you may share a concern that sometimes the Swayam courses are delaying their results, and that is affecting the other result in the institute. Now, UGC has already given the different strategies, and even now, if you look at Swayam is coming up with the exact time frame. Even they announced the start date and the exam date well in advance. Even in the beginning of the course itself, they share the exam date. So in that way, we can be hopeful in streamlining or addressing these kind of challenges what we have already shared. And another point what NEP talks about the internalization. So internationalization, again, it is focusing on the society. So how exactly we can take the research output to the society? If it is regionalized, region-based or localized, people may not be appreciating much. If the researchers are having a global acceptance or having a global standard, then there will be more acceptance, that the doubt will be very less. So we may have to equip our institutions, our research scholars or faculty members, having a research collaboration and student exchange between Indian and global institutions. This is what NEP suggests. So hopefully within no time, we may have the faculty exchange, student exchange program. Even now we have certain provisions, but this is going to get strengthened so that even a student of a very interior rural area may have a chance to academic experience in a well-developed higher education institution of a global fame. International student office at each higher education institutions, I think it's already in position. Every institution may be encouraging to have foreign students. Now, when I talk about this, we may not forget about a scenario of brain drain in a new form, where our students are looking for higher education in the foreign countries. We may have to seriously look into what makes them to have these kind of choices. Is it because of the our existing curricular structure? Is it because of the infrastructure deficiencies? Is it because of the assessment? Or is it because of the implementation of the standardized curriculum? Are they not getting equipped to compete with the global market? So all these we may have to look into. So what it says, the other concerns, motivated, energized, and capable faculty. This is what NEP talks about. Our faculty should not be a master of the subject inside the classroom. We should be capable of expanding our expertise to the society. We need to be the part of a better knowledge network. I don't know how many of us are really involved in the professional networks. We may have a maximum WhatsApp groups or some other groups, but what is happening in that? How exactly we are making use of these networks is a question. Are we really involving in academic deliberations, discourses, and these kind of networks so that there is a scope for capacity building? Now, when you talk about motivating and energized, even you may bring the concept of workload. In fact, I remember there was an article during the lockdown. Do we need to still talk about the term workload? When you use the term workload, we consider it as a load which is dumped on us. I feel that when we keep on using the term workload, we may be forgetting about what is our commitment. So as a committed faculty member, I don't think we may continue to use a term workload, but still the other side, I'll agree that yes, we are into more of administrative works. We are more in terms of data collectors and data compilers, because we know that for NIRF, for NAC, for AISHE, there are different maybe the national agencies who are looking for data in different formats. So in that way, I think the faculties say that we have overburdened, we have over workload. Now, maybe UGC would be looking into streamlining. That is where some institutions have gone for some kind of educational resource planning softwares, ERP solutions, where the faculty can key in the data in a single system, which will take the data in whatever forms they need, right? Another is the equity and inclusion in higher education. How do we work towards that? Another is teacher education. We know that there is a serious transformation in teacher education in terms of 4-year integrated teacher education program. We call it as ITEP. And in terms of ITEP, I won't say there is a serious change, but even now, we have gone to the level there IITs and NITs are offering the teacher education programs. Now, the teacher education programs is being visioned to be the part of a composite institute. So we know that what exactly was happening in teacher education. In teacher education, maybe after the undergraduate or the masters, the students will join for the teacher education program where there may be a gap between what they have learned. Because after masters, when I'm joining for BEd, I have to be a master in the school-based, school-level content, which I might have forgotten. So there was a huge gap between the content being transacted, a huge gap between the planning that is happening or the training program that is happening inside the teacher education program. So now this ITEP having in a composite structure where it gives an opportunity for the actual integration of graduate level subjects taking into the school level. Another is reimagining the vocational education. Now, the vocational education, or even we started using the term work-based education, or making giving opportunity for our learners to earn while they learn. Maybe in terms of the startups, or having some social productive works, or now most of the institutions are into the technology-based workshops or technology-based production. Even we know that other than that, we have a lot of opportunities. Even the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Yojana also emphasizes how exactly we need to support the different crafts, the different skill labor. So how do we integrate, maybe in terms of value-added courses, maybe in terms of add-on courses? So all these are taking us to think about how do we strengthen our societal structure? how do we involve in the society? Now, NEP talks about the academic research in the next area, where catalyzing quality academic research in fields through a new National Research Foundation. NRF, National Research Foundation, is being envisaged by NEP 2020, and we know that it's already been formulated, but we have to still wait for the details, detailed regulations or the guidelines or the framework from the National Research Foundation. Now, we have certain objectives or the primary activities as mentioned in NEP, fund competitive, peer-reviewed, grant proposal of all types and across all disciplines. This is what one of the primary activity of NRF envisioned by. Sir, though teaching is a passion, but productivity is lost when there are too many working hours allotted in timetable. Eventually, it does become a load. There is a lot of additional work like administration. Yes, correct. Jazia Sheikh, ma'am, you are correct. So that is where we, as academia, we need to start thinking how to bring an alternative system. What can we do to maybe reduce these kind of works? That's what I was suggesting. In some institutions, they have some kind of system which capture the data from the source, and that system takes care of the different formats. Maybe the technology people, even with the use of AI and all, it will be easy. It will be easy for considering the different requirements and deciding. Okay. So one of the primary activity of the NRF is funding, then seed, grow, and facilitate research at academic institutions. Now we know that in certain institutions, when you are joining as a new faculty, you may get a seed fund for research. It may not be available everywhere, but the seeding is always motivate the faculties to involve in research. Now the question is, sometimes the faculty also complain about how will I compensate or how will I cope up with my teaching hours and my research hours. That is a very interesting area that we have to consider. How do we go in a balanced way? How do we integrate both research and teaching is more important, wherein we have a habit of research which is integrated with our teaching learning, and act as a liaison between researchers and relevant branches of government as well as industry, so that research scholars are constantly made aware of the most urgent national research issues, and so that policymakers are constantly made aware of the latest research breakthrough. Now, recently, I've heard from the director in FlipNet that there is another portal like Shodh Ganga, Shodh Sindhu. There is another portal designed and developed by InFlipNet called Shodh Chakra. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. Shodh Chakra, you can visit maybe after the course. Shodh Chakra is even a research scholar can create an account and log in. A research guide can log in, which takes care of the entire life cycle of a research. And there are different support mechanisms for the research scholars in terms of research reviews, in terms of plagiarism, in terms of publishing. So you can just explore Shodh Chakra. That's what the director was sharing, that it is one of the latest initiative from InFlipNet. That means there are efforts now. We can see the changes in the higher education system. Sherni by InFlipNet, I have to check. I have to check what is the significance of Sherni. But maybe I'll look into that. But the Shodh Chakra recently suggested by the Honorable Director of InFlipNet. And NRF would be recognizing outstanding research and progress. Now, what it talks about transforming the regulatory system. Regulatory system about in higher education, NEP suggests the National Higher Education Regulatory Council, National Accreditation Council, Higher Education Grants Council, General Education Council, professional standard setting bodies. Like what are all the different bodies right now we have in terms of AICT, in terms of NCTE. So there are different bodies. So this again, we have to wait how exactly it is getting formulated. National Higher Education Regulatory Council, National Accreditation Council, but the upcoming days, we may be getting the clarity on this, but this is what the NEP 2020 suggests in order to transform the regulatory system, because we know there are variations or heterogeneity in the regulatory system. It may not be trying to unify the regulatory system, rather it may be supporting to streamline the regulatory system. Now, even you know that there is a professional standards for teachers. The work is already been started. What should be the professional standard? So these kind of standard setting bodies started working. Even you know that there is a national mentoring scheme. So those faculties who are willing to be a mentor for the fellow faculty members, there is a national mentoring scheme. So all these are in place. Now, I won't say whether we are not participating. First question is, are we really aware of it? It talks about the professional education, how professional education would be implemented, what would be the standards, how exactly you bring the professionalization in education, what should be the standards. Even if you look at the other three areas like adult education, lifelong learning, promotion of Indian language and culture, technology use and integration. So these 4 different areas have been explained in NEP 2020 after the transformation of regulatory system. But there are not that much extensive discussion, but I think NEP gives directions towards the reformation or the revival of professional education. We know there are concerns about the unified entrance test pattern, NEET kind of examination or other competitive examination, and how exactly people get enrolled into professional education, what is the time frame for professional education, what are the standards, who can decide, who can set the standards, how to monitor whether the institutions are following these standards. So we know what are all the concerns, what is the status of existing professional education. Another is the adult education and lifelong learning. We know there are a number of efforts already in place to support the adult education. Even if you look at Swayam, there are options for adult education, out of school children, or even you know that we have National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC, working on employability skills. So in that way, we have options on adult education, lifelong learning or continuous learning through the different digital platforms. That is where the technology use and integration also focuses. Another area is on, like what I was mentioning in the beginning, is the promotion of Indian language and culture. There are some of the documents already in place. Now, what NEP talk about online digital education, ensuring equitable use of technology. First point, it talks about the pilot studies for online education. There are already studies in place. Then digital infrastructure. You know that there is a portal called Diksha, Digital Infrastructure for Knowledge Sharing, Diksha, under Ministry of Education. There is another portal called Nishta. There is another portal called ictcurriculum.gov.in. So like that, there are different digital initiatives from the ministry, wherein one very interesting thing what you can see, though the market is so strong, all these digital initiatives are encouraging the use of free and open source software. That is very, very welcoming point, because we are all concerned about the affordability of digital education. That is another, the next concern when you are going for an online digital education. The affordability will be a question, whether the institutions will be able to have such robust system like a server and LMS, or do we need to go for a centralized learning management system? How do we share the courses? How many students can access the course at a time? The safety, privacy, all these are the concerns. Because we know, even we have experienced during the lockdown, how many of our students were expelled because of the access towards the infrastructure, access towards uninterrupted power supply, access towards stable bandwidth of the internet. All these are the concerns. So let us hope that maybe through the what is that, Digital India Network, digital initiatives will be able to address the concerns. But another is the online teaching platforms. In fact, right now we are encouraging the free and open source softwares like Moodle platform, learning management platforms like Moodle. It may be better, or maybe it may happen very soon. India may have India's own Indian origin learning management system. So we need to be familiar with the online teaching platforms. Now, almost all of us are in a comfortable position about the online platforms, but are we in a position in a comfortable position to design the courses? One. Second, implement the courses, run the program in the online teaching platform. Are we still continuing, or are we still mimicking the traditional way of teaching in an online platform? This is what we have to think. During lockdown, this is what we were doing. We will make the students to join in the video conferencing tool. Then I will take the roll call in the beginning, take the attendance in the beginning, then keep on asking, am I audible? Is it visible? Are you there? So we know that how exactly, then even we started thinking about how exactly the students are cheating. Right now, I cannot see any one of you because your videos are closed. So this is what the teachers were sharing. I don't know what the students are doing during an online or video conferencing interaction. I don't know what the students are doing, whether the students are there or not. So that is where we started bringing some of the interactive tools in between, asking a question, bringing some Mentimeter kind of, right, making sure that the students are getting participated. They are participating in its complete essence. So the familiarization about the online teaching platform, not only familiarization, because now almost all are comfortable. Now, what is the uncomfortable position for us? We are struggling with the kind of assessment. Right. We are constrained with the assessment what most of the platforms are providing. Like, for example, even if you are using a Google Classroom or any LMS, we say that the assessment can be done only for the objective type test. What about the subjective type? What about the language proficiencies, or what about the descriptive nature? Now, some of the learning management systems suggest that it can be done because you can go for the structural analysis of the language using maybe even AI. So, but we have to wait. So the alternative assessments that we are familiar with, or the best assessment methods, we are not able to implement through the online. So we may have to work on that. Another is the content creation, digital repository, and dissemination. Now, almost all of us are content creators. We create content every now and then. But now our challenge is we don't have a space to save it. Right. That's why now most of the teachers go for external hard disk, one or the other. That is because we know most of us are depending on our sophisticated smartphone. If it is an HD smartphone, you know that if you are recording your own video for 5 minutes, it may consume 1 GB or 2 GB. So where do I save it? I don't have a space to save it. Then what do we say? You go to YouTube. You upload in YouTube. Now, is it free? Because it is a proprietary platform. Though they are offering their services free, at any point of time, there can be restrictions. So we are comfortable in content creation, but now we may have to look into the quality of content that we are creating, the multiple representations that we are bringing. This is one of the concerns what we share when you talk about Swayam videos. You know that in Swayam courses, we have 30 minutes video. So as a course taker, I have to wait for the 30 minutes, or what actually we do, I will just drag and end up the video. The meaningful involvement in the video may not be there. So that is where we say we can have small snippets, or what we say the reels kind of videos, which can make the students motivated or reinforced to be the part of the course. So that is where the content that we are creating, that is one side. The other side, I feel there are lots of quality content created by our students. When you are giving the assignments, most of the assignments are now digitized. Now, you know that some of our students are really good in completing their assignments. You can see very, very worth content created. Now, what actually happening with that? Those digitized, earlier we know that when they are submitting the assignments in the paper, we will keep it for 1 year. The next year, we will just put it in the dump. We'll just dump it for this grade, right? Now, when the students are digitizing their assignments, are we reusing them? Because we know in technology, we say that when you are creating a digital content, it is a reusable learning object, RLO. So when a student is submitting maybe as a video, maybe as a text document, what are we doing with that? Are we just archiving them, or are we using in a platform where the other students can access it? So that is where the digital repository concept need to be taken, so that there can be a free dissemination of the content that is being created. So when I'm asking our maybe each semester, maybe even semester students, I have 4 batches even semester. These 4 batches may be 40 in number. 160 content at a time I'm getting, 160 assignments. Even if I go for a validation of the content or a scrutiny of the content, I may get at least 80 good quality content, which I may upload in a website, or I may upload in a blog. And for the next batch, I can share this as a reference. So this way, you can every institute can think of having a portal where faculty developed content, created content, students created content, maybe in terms of a workshop, maybe in terms of assessment. We need a space to disseminate it. And another is addressing the digital divide. Though we say that BYOD is the mantra now, bring your own device, because people started telling that we need not have a lab as such. Every student should be in a position to bring their own devices. But how far it will be possible is a question. But still, we may have to look for how to address the digital divide. That is where even ministry emphasized about the Swayam Prabha channels. Swayam Prabha educational channel broadcasting, wherein ministry decided to have one dedicated channel for each class. Right? So through broadcasting mode, not only through the internet, through the broadcasting mode also we have. So there are efforts, but locally we have to think, because you only knowing what exactly the status of students, what is the status of power supply, what is the status of access to gadgets, what is the status of internet. So maybe institutional wise or as a collaborative way, through the support of alumni or the NGOs, we may have to develop some support system to address the digital divide. Now, another areas what NEP talks about in terms of ODL is virtual labs. Now, we know it's already in place. We have V Lab and O Lab. You might have already explored it and you might have used it. O Lab is for the school education, though it was developed by Amrita University. Later, it has handed over to the ministry. We have class 11 and 12 simulated videos available. And it is been well structured. VLab is where you can see the consortium of IITs. So virtual labs can be in place. And another is online assessment and examination. Now, how far our higher education institutions are capable of doing this? We have already shown it. We have already proved that it is possible. But how was it done? During the lockdown, we were asking the students to write the exam in front of the camera, scan it in front of the camera and send it to you. This was one of the way we were using the traditional way of a term and examination. They had to write it in the paper, scan it, or sometimes you went for on-screen marking system where you scan the entire answer scripts of the students and you value online. Now, there are institutions who made the examination, complete examination online. There are some institutions using some of the higher server services like OpenEdX. There are institutions who are running the examination online. Another is the blended model of learning that we have to take a call how far we'll be able to blend. And another point is laying down the standards. So we need to fix the standards. That is where even UGC has suggested the standards of e-content, because we follow that as the standard, what UGC suggested, the 4-quadrant method. Now, in that way, even we can have the standards for almost all different domains of teaching learning. Even for online assessment, you can have the online rubrics. You might have already started using the rubrics and e-portfolios. So we have to have a standardized one. And training and incentives for teachers, I won't comment on that. Let us hope the agencies would be taking care of the training. That's what even all the Malavya Mission training institutes are doing. NEP sensitization, Indian knowledge system, all these have been taken care. Now the question is, what kind of incentives? This may be attributed towards your CAS, and what else? Maybe we have to wait. But NEP clearly mentioned about it. Now, taking you through some of the screenshots, you may be familiar with this, but I thought when I am talking about higher education in terms of NEP, after NEP 2020, UGC has published lots of documents. So these are some of the screenshots from the UGC website. All these can be downloaded. Some of the materials are in Hindi also, like UGC guideline for institutional development plans, UGC guideline for sustainable and vibrant university-industry linkage. Somebody was telling that we need to strengthen the industry linkage. Right now, we know that we have professor of practice in order to increase the industry linkage. So these guidelines may be downloaded and shared among the faculties. Even we can go for some discussions at the department level. Guideline for training orientation faculty on Indian knowledge system. Courses based on Indian heritage and culture. Incorporating Indian knowledge in higher education curricula. So all these are the different, at least you might have gone through the credit framework for FYUG. So please go through this document, and if possible, take it for some discussions and deliberations at the institutional level, maybe group-wise or individual-wise. And this gives us a better clarity how can we support implementation of NEP? Similarly, faculty should be engaged in industry for some days of the month, like how industry experts can. Yes, that can be a mutual professor of practice, and there would be system coming in. I think I don't think that it may become mandatory for some faculty to work in the field, but it always may be appreciable to have a system where faculties are given an opportunity to work with the field or the concerned industry to get updated with the latest developments, to get updated with the practices. Yeah, correct, ma'am. Now, even I'm foreseeing that UGC will be taking care of that. But I don't think it may become mandatory for all faculties. But this knowledge hub system, the clustering of institutions, and even the next document which I'm going to talk about, the social responsibility and community, which talks about the same. So and I think most of the faculty will be welcoming that move. Now, taking through the document, what it talks about community engagement, UGC, on the light of NEP 2020, emphasizes every higher education institutions must foster social responsibility and community engagement. And it should reflect in the vision and mission of the institute. It's not to say that we are allowing the community into the institute. We go to the institute. We can have a strictly following guidelines and the protocols. And UGC brings or quote UNESCO why it is needed. UNESCO document talks about higher education has a social responsibility to advance our understanding of the multifaceted issues. Like we know that now in terms of STRIDE project, we have heard that we started fighting against climate change. Right, we started equipping ourselves towards inclusivity, food security, waste management, water management, renewable energy. So for all these kind of multifaceted issues, we know a higher education institute alone cannot do it. We need to have the connection between the society, between the industry, between the research institutes. So all these should work together. And the second is from NEP, page number 5. The purpose of education system is to develop a good human being capable of rational thoughts. It goes like this. You can just read it. So these two are the justification what UGC suggests why UGC emphasizes on the social responsibility and community engagement. And with the next two slides, I'll stop. Key principles of community engagement, what UGC talks. One, the mutual learning and respect. We need to learn from the community. Community should be ready to learn from us, and the respect. University-wide in each faculty and discipline. So we need to, it's not that only the social work department will go to the society, or epidemiology will, or public health only will go to the society, right? Every department can think of how can we reach to the society in terms of the research, in terms of the participation, and in terms of the discipline. And next one is creating courses for the students, equipping them with the action strategies, action skills. You can have now disaster management course is in one of the compulsory elective. Media literacy is one of the compulsory elective. Indian knowledge system is one of the compulsory elective. So similar to that, you can go for some of the community-based courses which can be credited. Provide credits for the teachers for community engagement and linkage with the local institutions. That right now it may be happening in terms of MOUs, right? We may have MOUs with the local institutions. And what are the different forms of community engagement? What UGC suggests is linkage in learning with community services, linking research with community knowledge, knowledge sharing and knowledge mobilization, devising new curriculum and courses, including practitioners as teachers, social innovations by students. So these are some of the forms of community engagement what UGC suggests. And I think with that, I'll stop. So I was trying to give you an overview of what NEP, because all these are taken from the policy document, nothing my personal, but I was trying to present it before you, what exactly would be the modus of operandi, what we can think of as higher education faculty members to actualize some of these policy vision or mission or objectives in higher education. So that we are actually working towards actualizing the vision and mission of the policy and supporting the society, strengthening the society so that moving together towards the national mission of a knowledge economy system or a knowledge superpower. Now, maybe another 4 minutes, we can take it for any kind of discussion if needed. If any points you would like to add or any reflection or any observations. If there are no points or no discussions, let me thank each one of you for your patient listening. I know that it's too hard, maybe in an afternoon session, but I tried my level best to keep you engaged. Thanks a lot for, and thank you for the director, HRDC, and the course coordinator. Rafe sir is so generous to me to give me some chances to interact. And I feel it's a great opportunity to be, for me to get connected with fellow beings across the country. So I wish you all the best and thank you. Thanks a lot.
सो पार्टिसिपेंट्स 15 मिनट के बाद वैलिडिटी सेशन रहेगा। अभी 15 मिनट के लिए ब्रेक है। उसके बाद 15 मिनट के बाद तुरंत ही वैलिडिटी सेशन स्टार्ट हो।
इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे गीत आमुचे आकाशाचे गीत आमुचे सागराचे इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे
अभंगाचे ओवीचेही माय बोलीचे माहेर
वाऱ्यातही मराठीचे दिवे लख घरोघर संत महंतांचे विरागी गीत आमुचे वादळाचे इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे तंतु तंतु संघर्षाचा पैठणीत भिनलेला
नक्षीतच पक्षी पक्षी विजयाचा मिळलेला
सोन पहाट उदयाचे गीत आमुचे उजेडाचे इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे प्रज्ञेचा सूर्य नवा शब्द शब्द उजळून गेला समतेचा संगराचा अर्थ ढाळून गेला विराट विशाल संस्कृतीचे गीत आमुचे जीवनाचे इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे गीत आमुचे आकाशाचे गीत आमुचे सागराचे इतिहासाचे जनमनाचे गीत आमुचे जागराचे
Thank you, Amol. You can stop the university song. I would request all participants to open their cameras, please. On behalf of UGC Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, I welcome all the participants to the valedictory of the 7th NEP Orientation and Sensitization course being successfully completed by UGC Malviya Mission, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. I hope that in these all 8 working days, you have taken a lot of things in your bags regarding the National Education Policy 2020. And as we had got maximum resource persons, those who have delivered their valuable inputs to us, starting from Arunvind Ranade sir, to Arun Deshpande sir, Upendra Kulkarni sir, K. Srinivas sir, Dr. Ajit Thete, Anita Sharma, Professor P.K. Mishra, and today Dr. Baiju, all have given their valuable inputs on Indian knowledge system, holistic and multidisciplinary education, academic leadership, governance and management, students, diversity in conclusive education, research and development, higher education in society, information, communication and technology, and lastly, the skill development. So I hope that all these 8 core components of NEP are you are now very much familiar with all these 8 components, and I know that this is only the upper part of the National Education Policy 2020, and regarding the sub themes and sub points of these 8 core topics need to be further studied. I hope that in future, through the reading materials, through the conferences and seminars, you will get well acquainted with the National Education Policy 2020, and whatever message which has been delivered through the resource person, you will carry forward this message to your students, to your colleagues, and to your friends. So, not taking much of time, I would now request our respected director, Professor Satish Patil sir, to deliver a presidential remark to this validatory function. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, all of you. The Assistant Director of this MMTT Center of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Dr. Rafi sir, and all fellow participants. I hope you all might have enjoyed the experiences which have been shared by our renowned experts from the Pan India to discuss with you and to interact with you on the various aspects of national education policy. And you also might be acquainted with the in a particular area in a certain knowledge. And I hope that after gaining and after receiving this knowledge, while interacting with the participants or with the resource person, and even the experiences which can be shared from the participants, you are all with a full bag to deliver whatever which has been mentioned into the expected into this new education policy. As it has been pointed out by the professor, that whether it is a research and development or Indian knowledge system or skill development or even the information and communication technology, and even the curriculum designing, governance, management, and even leadership in education, how it can be made possible to see that it should be passed on to the students, and it will certainly help to shape up the career of the students, because you know that, and this particularly the UGC, which has been aimed to implement this NEP orientation sensitization programs since January 2024, and now this is of our my center. This is a 7th NEP orientation sensitization program, which has got a huge response, because we started inviting a renowned experts from Pan India, and even the participants also. But the response from the participants, what we get from not only from Maharashtra, but from the other states also. And I hope that after receiving this huge knowledge from the different experts and the resource persons, your concept regarding the NEP to some extent has been clear. Now it is up to you that how to implement a particular program, whether it is a skill development or whether it is a leadership in education or whether it is a inclusive education practices. I think you will start implementing it at your own institutions, and we will see that the overall the student should be a beneficiary, because you know that when we want to become a mm, global partner for the education, we need to globalize the education first. Second thing is that there should be inclusive education, as it has been rightly pointed out by the speakers. When we are talking about the inclusive education, that means, for example, a student who is learning a science, who is having a science background, he may have a knowledge of science to some extent, but he should also acquire a knowledge from the other faculties like law, interdisciplinary subjects, fine arts, or even other commerce and the economics also. That is what a holistic development of a student is expected through these NEP educations. And through all these training programs, you might be well acquainted with the knowledge which has been shared by all the experts. And now you will be expert in implementing this theme of the NEP at your own place, at your institutions. And of course, you will be very instrumental in designing and shaping the career of the students. I hope that you might have enjoyed all these sessions, and you might also, whatever the queries you raised, you might have got the satisfactory solutions to these queries also. And I wish you all the best for all of you, that you can also have another courses with another thing also in the same MMTC, which the opportunity which has been provided by the UGC. You can do a number of courses in NEP orientation sensitization programs, which are free of cost. You have nothing to pay, and that is all any online courses. By covering our curriculum and our workload, you can also join, because the courses which we normally use to online courses, what we normally used to do after office hours also, that is afternoon hours. And I think that might have helped you a lot to gain additional knowledge what you had earlier with you. And I hope that the same will be shared with our students, and all the aspects which has been covered into this NEP during this course will be included in your curriculum, in your the research and development programs, and definitely you'll be sharing your experiences with your students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time due to unavailability of the connection with the resource person. We thought that we can conclude because Baiju sir's mobile was not reachable since 5 to 20 minutes. So I regret on behalf of him that he is unable to deliver the valedictory address to all of us. But still, as a part, our respected director, Professor Satish Patil sir, has spared his valuable time and concluded this session through his valuable address. So with the permission of our respected president, I declare that this valedictory function is over. And before concluding, I would request all the persons to stand up for national anthem. सभी से मेरा रिक्वेस्ट निवेदन है कि नेशनल एंथम के लिए सभी खड़े रहें, और राष्ट्रगीत स्टार्ट करने के लिए अमोल को मैं निवेदन करता हूं.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, Amol. Now you can stop this cloud meeting. Thank you.